What's going on, guys? It's Adonis. I'm back with a review of the NES Classic Mini. This right here, though. Oh, man. So first and foremost, shout out to my boy Sean. This is actually his Classic Mini. If you didn't see the unboxing, I'm gonna leave a link to his Instagram right here so you guys can check him out. He's a dope photographer, but this is his. He let me unbox it and review it before he actually even played it. So show him some love, subscribe to his Instagram. Super dope. Thank you, bro. So I know there's a question that a lot of you are asking, is it any good? I don't know, man. Is it any good? Yeah, man. It's real good. The NES Classic is the perfect example of when somebody takes an old idea and then brings it into current standards. This is awesome. Just gameplay alone, it just takes you back. It's super nostalgic. Now also keep this in perspective as well. If you grew up in the early 2000s, this may not even interest you at all. It'd be like, you know, us playing old Atari games that we never had access to, and it maybe was never exciting to us. But for those who grew up in the, 80s and the early 90s, this right here is like legendary. This is like the business. Now the menu system on this is really cool as well. It's very similar to cover flow on a Mac. You have games that just kind of slide in a carousel motion, and you have some really cool ways to save games as well. Once you exit a game by hitting the reset button, it takes you back to the menu, it shows the last game you're playing, and if you scroll down, it'll give you the ability to save that current spot that you are in that game to the system. Also, there's some really cool screen settings as well. You can actually switch it to CRT, which is kind of what our TVs looked like back in the day. You have those kind of like parallel lines going on the display. Then you have a 4:3 aspect ratio, which a lot of TVs were kind of in the 90s going into the early 2000s. And then we have a pixel perfect one, which is exactly kind of pixel for pixel representation on your particular display size. Now this just adds a little bit more to that nostalgic factor. If you really want to feel like you're in the early 90s, switch on that CRT and you're kind of gaming like you would be in like 93. Now for those of us that grew up with the original NES, the controller just feels like you're at home. Like you're like, man, I forgot what this felt like. And it feels good. Even though it's a squared controller, it feels fine. Like it's not overbearing, it's not too big, it's not overly complex. Just two buttons and start and select. Now the NES Classic only comes with one controller. Even though there are multiplayer games, you can't split screen on any of these older games, so it doesn't really matter. You can just use the one controller. Now the game I was playing the most is the Legend of Zelda game. This is my jam. This is my absolute favorite game on Nintendo. Now the cool thing about this for me was growing up in the early 90s, I didn't have an NES, right? I didn't have one, but my friend across the street did. So going across the street and playing on his, this gold cartridge, Legend of Zelda game, I was like, it was just so cool. So being able now to play that again, at my own time, I can stop and pause the game, save it, come back to another day. It was just dope to kind of play through it again as an adult and still experience the same, pleasure I had as a kid. I know a lot of you are like, well, there's gotta be something that isn't good about it. And there is. And it's mainly the cord length. That's really all it is. Now, some people will say, well, just get a really long HDMI cable. And that's cool. However, if you want it on on a TV stand or in your entertainment system, you don't want to have to bring it all the way off. So that was the one thing that was kind of like, okay, well, I wonder how long this controller cable is. So before anybody gets crazy, I want to paint this picture. In the early 90s, our TVs were like this big, right? Max 15 inches. That was like a big screen back in the day. So with this, with this type of system back then, you needed to sit close up because you just couldn't see what you were looking at, 15, 20 feet away. But guess what? Now our TVs are like 50, 60, 70 inches large, and we don't need to be sitting that close to the TV. Now the cable for the controller, this is it bent, okay? So this may be 2 feet max, maybe. And that was my only gripe. I was like, who sits this close to the TV? Nobody. Now some people will say, well, there's probably extensions for this and things like that. That's cool, but like, it should have never been that short to begin with. It should have at least been about 10 feet long. At least. Nobody sits that close anymore. So I'm sitting super close to the TV playing this game on a chair, not even the couch that's in my house. It's just weird. which is weird. But really, that was it. That was like the only gripe I had. I loved playing this thing, and it's so small. It doesn't take up any space on your TV stand or in your entertainment system that you might have set up. So it's like the perfect addition as a gaming console, and it's not even expensive. So as far as cost goes, $59 for the NES Classic Mini. If you're here in Australia, it is $99. Now, some of you are like, dude, that's super expensive, but after you factor in the exchange rate from US to Australia, then add on their 10% tax, it's kind of the same. Even still though, for $100, this is like awesome. It's so dope. Now, like I said before, if you didn't grow up in the early 90s, in the 80s, this may not even matter to you. You're probably like, oh, these games are so basic, the graphics are terrible, but this is what we grew up with. Like, for me, this is super dope. It was so much fun playing it. I gotta get one for myself for sure. But let me know if you guys have played the NES Classic Mini. What are your thoughts? And are you looking to buy one now? I would love to know in the comment section down below. Well, that's gonna do it for my review of the NES Classic Mini. If you guys like this video, hit that thumbs up button, show your boys some love, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you're gonna wanna do that. Hit that APP logo in the corner to subscribe to the channel, and if you wanna check out my unboxing of the NES Classic Mini, link will be right there. All right, guys, until next time. See you later.